Welcome, everybody, to the CFFLists Waiver Watch Draft for Week 10. I'm your host, Jay Mill. I got my partner, Willie B, as usual. How you doing, Willie?
Doing all right.
All right, and we are joined for round 3 of the playoff rounds of the waiver draft by Luke Probasco of the increasingly growing G5 Hive. How's it going, Luke?
It's going pretty well. Definitely was hard out in the streets for fantasy last week with all the buys.
Yeah.
And it kind of continues a little bit this week.
Yeah. Week 9 was a tough one. I think week 11 is the really big one. Didn't you point that out, Willie? Week 11 seems to be the huge one across the board.
Yeah, but like he said, though, it's still a little slim. But yeah, that week 11 is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Overall, I would say I was pretty happy with the way everything came out. You snuck out a late night one there, Willie. In our home league, right? You were down, and who got you those comeback points?
Yeah, I think it was Ryan Davis got enough,
Right.
but I believe it was my kicker from Louisville that actually was the one that
Put you over the top.
put it over the top. But yeah, because I was a little afraid that with one of his guys not playing, he was going to get another 4 or 5 points overnight.
Yeah.
So I knew that was coming.
Subs.
Yes, right.
Okay. Yeah, the good thing now, I know the Fantrax, you can at least see who your opponents prioritize in the auto sub. So at least you can kind of try to do your own calculations there if you need to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we should have all been well rested because last night was like really the only night of the season I can recall where you only had one game after like 10 o'clock, and that game was over by 11 o'clock. The thrashing of the Utah-Colorado game. Yeah, hopefully you didn't, I guess, need receiver help there because, Utah definitely didn't have to throw the ball. They were just running it down, Colorado's throats all night, right?
Right. I mean, like I said, Ryan Davis, he ended up having 2 for 36.
Right.
So, no, they didn't really need to do much. They got it done, I think everywhere. Offense, defense, special teams.
Yeah, if anybody missed that, it was 43-0 at half, I think. So that's all you need to know about the Utah-Colorado game, and maybe the state of Colorado at the moment. We'll see if they can bounce back next week. I don't know though.
Yeah,
but
based on
I don't know if you heard
based on what
Brian,
I see, I don't think that's going to happen.
All right, so one thing I was very excited about though, Willie, this week was even with all the buys and everything else, looks like we did a good job of assisting people, hopefully, in filling some of those holes from the buys they might have had. It was, I don't think any question about it, our best week overall from the collective here. You had 117, eking out another win. I thought I might have you this week. I had my high score of the year with 111 points, rounded up from 110.7. And then Farnsworth, he outdid Jake from week 1 of the playoff rounds, who had 75 or 76 with his 90.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he had 75.
Okay, yeah, and then Farnsworth had 90. He hit that number we always talk about, that's really the goal, that we feel like if we can get 90 apiece, we've done our job. That's actually a good performance because, we shoot for the quarterbacks to get, 20, the running backs and the receivers to get 15 apiece, and the tight end to get as close to 10 as we can. We'll take 8 if that's all they want to give us. But, he reached that 90 mark, which again is kind of that mark we look at as a good week. Overall, I was looking, it looks like thanks to me finally picking up the slack a little bit here, we got our collective average between you and I up to 83. And if I'm not mistaken, I had that up. The guests are at 84.0. So we're at 83.5. The guests are at 84.0. So we've still got a chance to outscore our guests.
Yeah, I need you to pick up the slack, and then I need to find a tight end that's going to get some points. I don't think I've done that in like a month.
Yeah, as good as you've done. Yeah, that's a good place to start here because this was probably the best week we've had as a group with tight ends. We got 2 out of 3. We've been going 0 for 3 with tight ends, but you it seems like every time you get a guy who's had 3 or 4 good weeks in a row, you get them and they don't do very well. So Richie Anderson only got 1.4, even though he was on everybody's radar as far as our group last week. I hit the bullseye there with Brody Foley, who proved his previous week as the second highest scoring tight end in the land was not a fluke. He had 28.6. So he's kind of a name that's popped out of nowhere in the last 2 weeks that has been on top of the tight end world. And then Farnsworth took a guy that, had done some good stuff earlier in the season. He's got that dual eligibility, Peter Clark, who had 10. So we did get 2 successes at tight end. What I was most impressed about with our group, if you're looking here, and we do the color coding with, green being, a positive score, red, not so good. We only had 3 out of our, 24 picks collectively here. And only 3 out of those 24 picks were below kind of the threshold, we mark them as being successful picks. Farnsworth went back to the well with a guy who's been here before, Quay Ashley, who you and I thought might have peaked and fizzled out, and it looks like that is the case. He teased everybody with a decent week again last week, but then it's just a little bit too inconsistent there at Ball State. And then Amari Thomas, actually, he's a guy I think might bounce back. He had 6.1 for Farnsworth, but he's had a solid season. I think he's got a chance of bouncing back, but those were his 2 negatives, and then your tight end. Otherwise, the quarterbacks all got over 26 points. Fignano, Bachmeier, Minicucci. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. And then the running backs. I had Binyard. I kind of did the cheat code there and put a receiver in at running back because Fantrax allows it. So he got me 14-7. Middlebrook, he's had a great second half of the season so far. He had 23-5, and then Satania, showed out against Ole Miss. Even though the team didn't pull it out, Satania did his job and got 25.1. But what I tweeted about, I don't know that many people saw it. It seems like it didn't post correctly. It was a weird thing, but I tried to give you your props there Friday night as Sibley and Young from North Texas did their thing in Mestamaker's 608-yard game. You were the beneficiary there with 2 guys, with Sibley and Wyatt Young, with posted 19 and then 34 points. So nice job there, Willie, on eyeballing North Texas versus that weak Charlotte defense. Good job picking those guys up.
Yeah, like some of that even came in late time, which I really didn't think it was going to happen for Sibley, but then he put 2 quick ones on at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really happy about that. And I was going to say earlier about your Brody Foley, he actually left 10 points on the field. He had a long potential touchdown in the end zone that he dropped. So he easily could have had over 35 had he caught that.
Right.
But all in all, I really liked what we all did, especially, and even Christopher Barnes coming in and putting up his 11.8. It's slim pickings out here. So
right.
Just finding those guys and putting people in the right direction. That's what we want, and that's what we did.
All right, with that, Willie, we've used the handy dandy randomizer again, and you're going to kick us off with the first pick. Luke, you'll have back-to-back picks here with your first and second, and that's the only time we'll do that, and it'll reverse back to me and Willie after that. Then we'll kind of proceed in a normal route here on the draft. So, Willie, you've been pretty good at that. This. Who are you going to kick us off with this week?
Well, happy to go first because even though I had a list of about 6 or 7, it's really slim. So we're going to go with a name that we're familiar with, especially you, J Mill. You have plenty of shares for him, and that's running back Jaquel Middlebrook from Middle Tennessee State. He is a guy that if you don't have him yet, he could ride you to the championship, possibly with the matchups that he has. He has Jackson State this week, FIU, Western Kentucky is Sam Houston, and then I don't think anyone's going to week 14, but they have New Mexico State. But with Jacksonville, that said, they're 73rd. They give up 150 a game. I've already given up 11 rushing touchdowns. Middlebrook, he gets it done pretty much each and every week. He's he can even get you some receptions out of the backfield. He had his 23.1 against Delaware and Mr. Minakuchi and company. So like what Jaquel's going to bring, and he should at least get another 15 to 20.
Yeah, he's been pretty consistent the last four, and I mention it every time I draft him in this thing that there was a lot of preseason hype, and he started off a little slow, but he's starting to live up to that hype now that they're in the conference. And my note there was what you mentioned. He's had 4 to 5 catches in several of the last games, so he's going to get you those catches to get us. So he's extra valuable in PPRs. I do want to note a lot of these guys on my list, and you started off with a 28% guy. Our threshold is under 30%. If we're mentioning guys here that are 25 to 29%, you can't get them. Apologies. At this point, it's a contest. We're hoping that, that 30% threshold is good enough to have enough guys here for people to get after. Again, apologies if a lot of these guys are going to be in the high 20s and you can't get them, but we'll try to make reference to some lower percentage guys, even if we don't draft them towards the end of this. But just wanted to add that note because he's at 28%, so he's kind of right at the barrier, and I know he's not going to be the only one in that category for today.
Yeah,
right,
well, but he's also one that has been here a few weeks, and he should have been over the threshold already.
Oh yeah,
if that makes
sense. If you don't get him, that's your fault because we've mentioned him the last 3 weeks in a row.
That's that part.
Yeah, Luke, you were nodding your head when he took him. Did he take a guy you wanted there?
Absolutely, one of the top guys in my running back list for sure. I'm sure J Mill, you're about the same, probably top on your list as well.
Yeah, actually, maybe not right at the top. I'm going to take my guy who was at the top though, because like Willie mentioned, we come into this knowing there'll be at least 6 guys that are going to be taken, so you better have a list of 6. But I don't like the guys in the bottom 3 as much as I like in the top 3. So I'm going to take the true freshman from San Jose State who has now appeared in 3 career games and has managed 19 fantasy points in 2 of those. I took him after his 19-point debut 2 weeks ago, and he just didn't do what he should. He got me 3 points. He has now bounced back and redeemed himself in my eyes in his 3rd career game as a true freshman. Steve Chavez Soto from San Jose State again has now 2 19-point games in his career. So I'll take a guy that's batting 2 out of 3 every time, and he's going against Hawaii. Doesn't scare me. 73rd and giving up points to running backs in fantasy ball, and want to help people out. He's only 6% rostered, so maybe he is a guy this late in the season that people will actually be able to find on their squad or on the waiver watch. All right, another group of 5 guy for you too, Luke. We got 2 in a row there. Let's keep it rolling here.
Oh man, there's so many different ways to go about this. Knowing what we have to fill, the onesie positions, when do you attack these and that. I think I'm going to stay on the train of running back, and I am it's a contest, right?
Right.
Yep.
So I'm going to shoot for upside with my very first pick. Probably not the best idea, but hey, we are, trying to win it. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. I too, Jeremy, am going to take a true freshman, Jacarian Turner, Pittsburgh. Had a what's his name? Desmond Reed in a boot after the game. He was banged up coming into the game. Didn't play much the week before against Syracuse. He was able in the game against NC State to get 20.3 points, 13 rush attempts, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 13 yards. Upside pick, Stanford, not very good against the running back as they allow 23.66 points per game to the running back room. If there's no Desmond Reed, I'm looking for more Turner in this game. Even if Reed is slightly banged up, I think Turner will get run. So give me upside, pick one. Probably not the right play, but let's do it anyways. Jacarian Turner, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, another 6% guy. So good. We're going 2 under 10%. What I like about him, he was off my radar. I didn't dig deep enough to find him. I love the fact that he's averaged 10.5 on the season, But at this point, the season number doesn't matter. 3 out of his last 4 have been over 16 points. So you're not just taking a one-hit wonder here, Luke. You got a guy who had 18-7 this week. But 2 weeks ago, he had almost 21 versus FSU, and he had 16 the week before that against BC. So he's got a pattern here that's forming, and he's looking pretty good.
Well, now I'm thinking I shouldn't have taken him. Maybe he was too far off the radar. I could have had him as my last pick.
Willie, was he on your list, Willie?
No, he was not on my list, but he could have waited. But the thing is, he's had five touchdowns in the last 4 games, so yeah, he's not a one-hit wonder. But yeah, you could have waited.
What we're saying is he should have been on our list, but you definitely could have taken him last, and you would have still got him. Right. But okay, that's all right. That's all right.
All right.
And you get another one though. You get a bonus pick.
For this one, I'm going to go to a onesie position because I feel like this is going to be the horse of my team. I'm going to ride into war with this guy. Government might be shut down. The Air Force defense is sure shut down. I'm going to take Cale Helmus, Army quarterback, 7% owned. Air Force is allowing 35.21 points per game to quarterbacks. Well, Cale's not really throwing a bunch. They're letting up 34.09 points per game to running backs. That's what Cale's mainly doing. And then again, in this format where it's 4-point passing touchdown, 6-point rushing, give me more of a rusher. Give me Cale Helmus.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good strategy there with the 4-point QB points. What do you prefer, by the way, Luke? I know some guys like I think it's Froton really likes the 6-point quarterback TD leagues and thinks it should be that way, and a few others do. But what do you think is fair? Should quarterbacks get the full 6 points, or kind of the standard 4 that most leagues do?
I like 6 points. I also play in a lot of C2C leagues. Okay. So again, how much of the running quarterback translates to the NFL? It gives okay, well, if I take these discounts and they don't pan out, I think it gives you that chance to have them over the course of their career, or however long you want to have them. But the NFL is mainly, the ones who do really well are mainly statue quarterbacks, or not statue, but pocket and then run second. And we've definitely seen college football kind of move towards more of an athletic quarterback, and then maybe it's a first read and go type guy. And with all the teams that are out there, I think giving them 6 points just gives everybody a fair shot.
Fair shot. All right. Okay. I'm not against it. I'm kind of I'll ride the fence on it. I could go either way. I like league. We're in leagues that have both. I'm gonna jump to pick number 2 here, sandwiched in the middle. I kind of like being in that spot here. I'm gonna go with the guy on the other end of this San Jose State Hawaii game. I'm gonna take my receiver here, who I don't think we've taken in the waiver draft this year, even though he's been creeping up and probably deserving a spot. Jackson Harris, the wide receiver from Hawaii. He's 22% rostered. Appears to be going against, San Jose State pass defense that's given up some points here to receivers. They're 106. They don't have their actual passing yards per game that they're giving up, but that's fine. I'll take Fantrax's word that they give up a lot of points to wide receivers. He's averaging 15-1, but again, we're at week 10. We don't need to look at their entire season average. We need to look at that points per game over the last 3 or 4 weeks to get a better handle on what guys can do for us now. And what he's done for us lately is 33, 19, and 28 in his last 3 games with an average of 10 targets. So I'll take that every day. Over the last 3 years, we've kind of seen different guys, pop up for Hawaii. They haven't been real consistent in terms of, the leading receivers that we've seen, from week to week. But a 3-week streak, I think he keeps it going. And the 10 targets doesn't seem to be a fluke since it's happened. He's averaging that over the last 3. So should be a fun matchup there with San Jose State and Hawaii. A little bit of a fantasy shootout, hopefully.
Yeah, Jay Mill, I got some other stats for you.
Okay, good. What do we got, Luke?
He was on my list, averaging 66.7 yards per game. He's got a low target percentage, but they pass so much it doesn't really matter. He's averaging 12.9 targets per game, or 12.9% target share.
Right.
But that San Jose defense that you're talking about, allowing wide receiver rooms 41.93 points per game.
So so we might finally have the real answer because Luke, is that information? We just get a ranking since you're working with Fantrax now. Does that allow you to see that actual number? Or is there a place we can find that on Fantrax also?
No, that's not on Fantrax, but on the new website that the G5 Hive
Aha.
made a few weeks ago that went live, g5hive.com.
Okay, there you go. So you can dig deeper into what that Fantrax ranking that we've always thought was a mystery number really means there, as G5 Hive breaks down the specific points that teams are giving up to the players at a certain position. I like that. I'll check that out. I did see that you guys were pushing that hard this week. It looks like it's up and running, and you're doing some predictions for player projections and all that on there too.
Yep. So we've coupled with the CFF site.
Okay.
So you just type in your league. There's a special code that you have. You type it in, it imports all your leagues, all your teams, and then you optimize your lineup, and it goes cross-references those CFF projections, and then it says, hey, based off the projections, here's your optimal lineup, and then here's your bench, and
Nice.
it also tells you who's the best available on your waivers.
Oh, nice. All right, very good. All right, so everybody check that out at g5hive.com, right, Luke?
Yeah.
All right,
Right. And
great.
how much does that cost everyone, Luke?
Well, right now there is a special promo code if you use G5 Hive VIP. It's 50% off the first year. I believe we have it set for $99.99 for a year. So
Okay.
about $49.99 for the as the season winds down.
Okay.
Right.
But yeah.
Pretty cool. Very nice. Great progress over there at G5 Hive. I love it. Willie, you get one pick here. What do you want to do?
We're going to go ahead and finish up our running backs since you guys left that
Okay.
wide open there. I know, J Mill, you said that you have a couple of guys at the bottom, so I'm sure we're probably not looking at the same ones. But
Okay.
I don't know if I've had him before, but I know he's been on the list. I don't think he really needs to be here based on his percentage. But that's going to be Davin Booth from Mississippi State. He's coming off back-to-back 20 plus rushing attempts. Almost got he had 99 against Texas in that loss up there at the end. But he's 14% rostered. Like I said, he's steadily come on the last couple of weeks for them, 25.9 and then 27.4 yesterday. And they get an Arkansas defense that is ranked 123rd. They've given up 17 rushing touchdowns already, and they give up almost 194, 195 yards on the ground. So, like what Davin Booth has been doing.
Yeah, I would be shocked if there wasn't a direct correlation in his increased production with Fluff Bothwell going down a couple weeks ago. Wouldn't you say?
That's also correct. Yeah.
Fluff got hurt, and then and I don't know the long-term projection of the Bothwell injury. Have you heard anything on that, Luke, or do you know? Were you following that? I just didn't see any updates. I feel like it's a long-term one, so people would be safe there with Booth. I haven't seen anything to say like Bothwell's coming back and Booth is out, but that's just so people know. Like Bothwell was the guy, Booth is now the guy. So good pick there, Willie. I had him on the list in that top half, in the top half of the guys that I wanted. So I would say that was a semi-snipe. I might have one left that I could take here. It's not that I don't like the guys that are left on my list. They've just got tougher matchups than you'd normally like to see in a waiver watch pick here. But with that, I think I might go back to the running back position just because of what I said. I don't like, the last couple. And I think we'll do we'll steal the guy that helped Farnsworth out and had a big week last week from Cal. We'll stay on we'll go all West Coast this week for me. We'll go with Kendrick Raphael from Cal, 24% rostered. Like I said, he's got a tougher matchup. He's one of those guys that starts to get in that category that's had a string of good games, but plays a little bit stiffer competition this week with Virginia. Who's 38th and giving up points, only 38th, giving up points to running backs. But, I think, his 19, 24, 18, and 30 and the carries that have gone along with that are enough to make me feel confident that he won't get shut down. He should still get at least that 15 points that we're looking for guys to get here. And again, we'll see if I can make this an entire West Coast viewing party for my team. So, all right.
Well, that means you guys have left me running back that I can wipe my hands clean here till the end.
Right.
I can wait there. So that means I'm going to go ahead and take a wide receiver, and I think I'm going to I got two wide receivers that I really want. I think I'm going to take this one first. I'm going to take Iverson Hook, UAB wide receiver, going up against UConn. He's averaging 80 yards per game, a 22.5% target share. UConn's allowing 35.61 points per game to the wide receiving group. Iverson Hook is ranked 28th in the nation in receiving yards per game with that 80, and his 8.14 targets per game ranks 28th in the nation. So he's going to get the volume. He's getting the receiving yards. He's got 57 targets on the season. He just doesn't get that red zone work, but he does have 5 touchdowns on the season, 41 receptions, 560 yards. So I think I'm going to take Iverson Hooks.
All right, you got it. How did they play? Yeah, that's one of those things. Like they've got the Dilfer curse off their back now. Maybe they had the nice surprise win the other day. But yeah, it's always interesting when a coach leaves how teams manage to bounce back and win. I don't know if most of the time are they playing for the coach they just lost, or are they playing that good because they're glad to have lost that coach? I wonder.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
It is tough because when you look at it, his points. The other part was Kitna was out, so they had their backup quarterback in,
Right.
and in his last 4 games prior to the week without a new head coach or with a new head coach and a new quarterback, he was at 13 in 1-point PPR leagues. He was at 13.4, 8.8, 11.1, 12. So it's like, hey, that's good. And then they get a new quarterback. They get a new head coach, and he gets 46.2 points against a really hard Memphis team. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I got a safe floor with like 10 to 12 points, but I think I got a really nice ceiling.
Yeah, I agree. Good one. Willie, we'll come around and let you get pick number 3.
All right, so I'm gonna Hooks was the second guy on my list. I'm gonna take the guy at the top of my list now, and that's I had him a couple of weeks ago, and that's going to be Cortez Braham from Memphis. He's 25% rostered. The last time I had him against UAB, he had 13.3, but he bounced back against South Florida, and he had 26.5. Been getting double-digit targets the last 2 games. He's averaging, 79 yards a game. Had 2 touchdowns yesterday. The only game he hasn't scored in was that UAB game where I had him last time. So he should be a consistent scorer. And they're going against Rice, who they don't give up a lot of passing yards, just 217, but they've already given up 12 passing touchdowns. So Cortez Braham is where I'll lean.
Yeah. All right, Braham, going back to the well. Let me see what I want to do here. I guess I really liked all the. I have several quarterbacks. I only need a couple there, and I've got more than 2 that I like. So I can't do what I. Well, you know what? I could be cute here and keep it West Coast. And
you might as well. Our head-to-head competition is kind of over. I mean, I'm ahead 7-1. So yeah, you go ahead and just build that West Coast and see what happens.
Yeah. We'll try to keep it cute here because he is tight end 2 on my list. I'll mention who tight end 1 is if somebody doesn't grab him. But let's take a guy who's upset a lot of people in the past because he was hyped up to be a top tier tight end and has disappointed, but he's now bounced back at Stanford, and that's Sam Roush. So, he's averaged 8.9 on the season, but he's averaged over 12 or he's had 12 in 4 of the last 6, which is what I like. And he's another guy that's been getting 10 targets. And that's over the last 3. I think he's had at least average 10 targets in those last 3 games. So, that gives me my second receiver that's getting plenty of opportunities. And as frustrating as he's been the past couple of years with inconsistencies, and even though he started off a little slow, it seems like he's now in a rhythm and, one of the main targets there at Stanford and a team that, we thought was on the rebound and was playing tight with Miami, but then ended up getting trounced anyways. But it doesn't matter to me if the team loses as long as Sam Roush gets his targets and catches. There we go.
And JML, so one of the things that I've noticed with college, in the NFL, when you're like, okay, this team doesn't do this thing well, we're going to exploit it. College doesn't really seem to do that. They're like, this is what we do, and we're just going to do it really well. Like, I don't care if you're good at it.
Yep.
So when you try to marry those things up, Sam Roush is averaging 40.29 yards per game. He's got a 20.7% target share, while Pitts is allowing 13.8 points per game to tight ends. So it's like, hey, we're not good here, and we like to do this. So I think I think it could be a big Sam Roush game.
All right, great. So I love that Luke has had backup for me on 2 of my 4 picks to at least make me feel better that I might have a chance of finally beating Willie this season. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate the additional support for my picks.
I hope that information is going to be worth it because you need that, Jamie. Let's go. You can get it. You can do it.
I do. I know.
Well, it just tells you that I did the research. They were on my list.
Right. Good. And I have a suspicion my other guy at the top 2 you might have on the list too. I'm curious to see if either one of you take him, but I'll definitely mention him if you don't. So,
well,
Luke,
he was number 1 on my list.
You can go
though,
wide receiver, tight end here. All right.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just do it because we're talking about it. Why not? Okay. I'll take Gavin Harris, tight end, New Mexico State. They've got Western Kentucky this week, but Gavin Harris is averaging 53.83 yards per game. He's got a 16.5% target share, while Western Kentucky's defense is allowing 10 points per game to the tight end position. So I'm going to take Gavin Harris, one of the top tight ends in the G5, and definitely one of the top ones overall in college football right now.
Yeah, we mentioned him last week. He's been on here a few weeks ago. Of course, the week I took him was his one bad week, and it seems like that's the only bad week he had all season. But I still have him in other leagues. He's helped me out, and I pointed to him last week as one of those guys that when you first hear a name like that, because he's at New Mexico State, you don't necessarily even know what he looks like, what he plays like, but now that those, what are they calling it? The weekday USA games are in full action. Now I've seen him a couple of times, and I love what I see. He's an athletic guy. He's not a big blocking tight end. He's in the slot as much as he's in line, and he's their go-to guy at the goal line too. So he's a great pickup if you can get him. And I love the fact that 3 of your 4 picks are under 9%. You're 8% and less on 3 of your picks out of the 4. Nice job.
That's either really awesome or really bad. Maybe we'll right on a curve this week. That's what I think.
Yeah. We could, some of those March Madness brackets like to give you bonus points when you take the higher rated seeds. Maybe we look into some bonus points for, lower percentage guys. But that's something for off-season discussion.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Willie. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm gonna go.
All right.
I'll go West Coast here with you also. I'm going to wrap up my wide receivers here, and we're going to go Jacob DeJesus from Cal, who's 19% rostered now. He is averaging 15 points a game, but his last 2 games, 29.2, and then he had 16.6 against Vatech. Has 30 targets in the last 2 games. So that alone lets me know what I need to see, especially against a Virginia defense who is ranked 81st in the country. Doesn't really deter me that they've only giving up 10 passing touchdowns. I think the way that Cal has been playing, that's going to be not an issue for them.
Okay.
Willie, I immediately regret taking my tight end because Jacob DeJesus was still one of my top wide receivers on my list, but I got way too cute with it. That's what I did. So my stats behind him: 28.6% target share on the year, and J Mill, you talked about how Kendrick Raphael, it's a tough matchup. Well, that's because Virginia having a hard time defending the passes. They're allowing wide receiver units 39.7 points per game.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, we can throw it against you. It's not so much you can defend the run. I mean, obviously they did pretty well against Wake Forest last week, but you could be had passing the ball. So we're just going to do that.
They don't need to run; they just throw the ball against. He was one of the rising stars in the 60-team league that I am now out of, because since there's 60 teams, the playoffs start next week, and I did not make that this year, even though I had a great season in that league last year. But he was one of my rising stars. He just didn't rise soon enough. Had he done in weeks 1 and 2 and 3 what he's been doing the last few weeks, I might have done better in that league. So I'm blaming him. But I do have him, I think, in the Sickos league, and I'm still alive there. So I will keep rooting him on. And Willie, shame on you for he was probably the last guy that would be my hope to have an entire West Coast team. So you have now forced me to go outside of that, because the quarterback position was alive. I could have taken Fafita there and had DeJesus and Fafita to fulfill my West Coast team, but you've ruined that for me.
There's still guys available. You just didn't dig enough. So
I don't want those West Coast guys. Yeah, I'm not taking those other West Coast guys. He was there. He was on my list. I wanted him, but I have another one. I'm going to go bring it back here to the old ACC, which does have West Coast teams in it now. Make that make sense. The Atlantic Coast Conference has teams like Cal and Stanford in it now. I will go with Cooper Barcate. I believe it's Barcate, probably not Barcati, from Duke. 24% rostered by my last check, going against Clemson, who I'm sure Luke will back up, gives up quite a few points against fantasy wide receivers.
J-Mail?
Hoping that Fantrax is right there.
J-Mail? I got him at 31 now.
Hello. Yes.
I have him at 31 now.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Scratch that then. Okay. Hope you guys have Barcade. He's not available this week, so we will.
He was on top of my list, or when I was looking, and he was already owned.
Yeah.
He was off my list.
You know what I probably did? And I can tell you exactly what I did. I take a few notes on guys that are on buys. Like when you're going through, you just grab the guys that look good, and then you're like, oh, man, they're on a buy. So I brought him up from last week's notes thinking like, oh, he was at 24, and then I forgot to double check his percentage for this week. So
Okay.
Wah, 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 wah. All right. Well, here we go, guys. Here we go. Still worth talking about the kid. We'll go with a guy then that was here last week and had a down week, but I believe it will be his only down week in the last several, and that's Amari Thomas from Houston. The reason why is because now he faces a horrendous West Virginia secondary who is 115th in giving up points to wide receivers. So we're going to look for the bounce back. I've learned from my own picks and others in the waiver draft, you don't have to give up on a guy after one bad week on the waiver draft. They made it for a reason. They might slip up like everyone seems to do once in a while, but typically if they've been on the waiver draft and had a bad week, we see a lot of these guys bounce back. So look for Thomas to do that in a prime matchup for him against West Virginia. So that's okay, guys? Suitable? All right. Nice. All right, Luke, what do you got? You could actually go both if you want. If you need more time, you don't have to, but you can give us both of these picks if you want, since positions are filled for running back and receiver.
I'll go ahead and give both. I'll do the wide receiver first. Okay. I'm going to take Chauncey Cobb, wide receiver out of Arkansas State, going up against Troy. He's averaging 67.71 yards per game, 19.5% target share. while Troy is allowing 31.39 points per game to the receiving units. In 1-point PPR leagues, he's had 4 straight double-digit outings. This last week, he had 15 targets. Jalen Raynor has not thrown the ball super far down the field, and he's just been a PPR monster as of late. So I like Chauncey Cobb this week.
Yeah.
And then from a running back position, I'm going to do, I think, J-Mill, maybe what you did last week was Benyard
Yeah.
out of Kennesaw State. Going up against UTEMP this week, he's got running back, wide receiver eligibility. I mean, he is a wide receiver. And that's how he's utilized most of the time. He's had double-digit points in each of his last 5 games. Again, in 1-point PPR, his last 3 have been 15.6, 19, and 14.7. UTEP is not too bad against the pass, as they're allowing 23.77 points per game. But I really like this Kennesaw State team, what they've put together. So give me Gabriel Benyard.
All right. Which leaves you with only one Power 4 player on your team. So nice job sticking to the brand. Good job. Good job. All right. Willie, you know how the game works, so you could also do both of your picks here, because I'm sure you wouldn't take your tight end before your quarterback. So knowing that you're smart enough to take your quarterback first, you could then follow that up with your tight end if you choose to, unless you need more time.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and leave you with Fafita if that's what you want to do. But we're going to go Alonzo Barnett from JMU. They're coming off of their bye.
Okay.
Speaking of byes, but the last time we saw Alonzo, he had 59.1 points against Old Dominion. He's 27% rostered.
Yep.
They get Texas State, who is ranked 100th in the country. They've given up 13 passing touchdowns. He should easily have 3, and they give up 242, which he should also have that, along with what he can do with his feet whenever he so desires.
Yeah, nice. And we're hoping he takes us to the promised land of the playoffs in the Kings Classic. That's what we were shooting for when we picked him up a week ago. He's looking good as far as those matchups, I think, for the rest of the season. And we had talked about the fact that, you weren't sure which Barnett you were going to get this season. We knew what he was capable of based on last year, but it looks like he is definitely back to prime 2024 form, if I do say so myself.
I don't know if he went to Clemson and saw those witch doctors there about, everybody that they heal with their ACLs, but yeah. I did not foresee this type of season coming from Barnett. Just, from what I know, I've heard about the injury, this was a very, very unique case in which he, everything went well. And this has just been a great season for Barnett. So, kudos to him and all the work that he did to get back to this form. But it seems like he beat all odds.
Yeah.
And Willie, fun fact for those watching who may have never known this, if you would like to disclose your government last name.
One and the same. One and the same.
Yeah, Willie B. The B is for Barnett. Get a little drum roll on that one. All right, but no relation, right, Willie?
Not that I know
Not
of,
that we know.
But we have a big family, so I guess we can find out.
Well, he is now your relative, your CFF relative there. We'll call him that. So, all right, go ahead and get that tight end out of the way, and then I'll close this up. Let us know who you're choosing from here, so we can get an extra name here in the tight end picks here.
All right, so I'm not going to go with Hunter Tipton from Middle Tennessee State. He's 1% rostered. I do like that Jacksonville State matchup.
That's who I thought That's who I thought one of you guys would take.
Yeah, so okay. I'm not going to do that only because I took Cortez. No, I'm sorry, I took Middlebrook, so we're going to skip that. But I am going to go with a guy that you've taken before, and that's Bowden Groen from Kansas. He's 13% rostered, and guess what? They get Oklahoma State. who is 133rd in the country. I just don't know what's going on there. Um, Hopefully they don't get shut out this week, but if they do, Bowden Growing and company, they should at least score 30 on them, if not more. So they've given up 22 passing touchdowns. They give up 294 passing yards a game. So Bowden Growing, go get yours. Get me in the green for once, and in 5 weeks. So Bowden Growing.
I will just say I thought Hunter Tipton would be one that you guys did take. He was the one I was choosing between when I took Sam Roush, but since I wanted to go all West Coast, I might have actually preferred Tipton, but I wanted to be cute and try to get my West Coast team fulfilled. But you know what? I don't know anything about Tipton, Luke. Do you know? I thought Galloway was going to be the guy there at Middle Tennessee when the season started, coming in from Purdue. But where did Galloway go, and where did Tipton come from? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, but
Okay.
going into the season, I just knew that they weren't going to utilize the tight end really like they had in years past.
Yeah.
Just because of the personnel that they had there. So I really wasn't concerned from a fantasy standpoint with the tight end position. Now, based off of that, Hunter Tipton has produced, like they've almost been utilizing them like they had in the past. And so he's really, he's really emerged this season.
Yeah, all I thought of when I saw that he had wide receiver tight end status was that's exactly what we saw with the previous stud that they had there. Was that I'm thinking Willis was the last name. I can't remember. It's slipping my mind now. Yeah, but it looks like I thought Galloway was going to be that guy though, but I was just totally wrong on that one. Either way, that's another name. We'd like to mention some other names that you could consider. He's a 2% guy, so if you are in more desperate need of a tight end and can't get any of the guys we mentioned, Hunter Tipton could be your guy there at 2%. I'll move into my quarterback, and then we'll wrap this up with some of the other picks. If Luke's got a couple others that he would have taken had he had more room. Willie, I teased the fact that I might go Fafita. That was not my top choice here. That was maybe in a quest to fulfill a West Coast lineup for no apparent reason. Although he is playing Colorado, which does make it very intriguing. But the guy I'm going to go with is a guy that, again, we took in the Kings Classic a couple of weeks ago when we saw his schedule. He's been very good to those who have had him here in the waiver draft, and that's Joe Fagnano from UConn. He's going against UAB, who's 97th against the pass, averaging 23.1. But more importantly, he's had over 26.5 the last 3 weeks. And his week 10 to 14 schedule, he might have a bye week 14, but I know his week 10 through 13 schedule is as good as it gets, with every single team he's playing the next 4 weeks being ranked 97th or worse in terms of the points they allow for fantasy quarterbacks. So I'm going to close it out with him. And then I will kick it over to you, Luke. You have like maybe one or two or three guys you want to mention here, kind of honorable mention that guys should look out for?
Yeah. Connor Wegman, quarterback, 28% owned, going up against West Virginia. West Virginia is allowing 28.69 points per game to the quarterback position. I think that is a name in the running back position. Just news to keep an eye out. Jordan Lovett, running back for Troy, is 1% rostered. Tay Meadows did not start this last week. They have Arkansas State, and Arkansas State is really struggling to tackle as they're allowing running backs 30.6 points per game. With Jordan Lovett taking over the backfield with Tay Meadows out, he rushed the ball 21 times for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns, good for 23.3 points in 1-point PPR leagues. And then a couple wide receiver names to just keep an eye on. It's, I think, Kajai Hollowayne, wide receiver at Temple. Temple's been playing really good football. However, they are playing a pretty tough ECU team. He is averaging 48.7 yards per game, 16.4% target share, while the Pirates are allowing 35.36 points per game to the wide receiver room. In a tougher matchup, but some that I am keeping an eye on is Kyrie Duplessis, wide receiver out of Delaware going up against Liberty. Liberty's kind of tough against the pass, but he's averaging just about 70 yards per game and a 20.3% target share. So I think there are worse options you could go with, but another name to just be aware of.
Yeah, I like the Halloween pick too. He's really crept up out of nowhere there for Temple, 1% rostered. So again, that's another deep kind of guy in deeper leagues that maybe you can still get your hands on. Willie, we got your back. What do you want to? I think you guys are between Luke and making some of these um, choices here when we were comparing who we were choosing between. We've covered all the extras I had, but if you've got any left over there, Willie, you can mention those and then get us on out of here.
Jevion Ducker, we saw what he did
Right.
last week. Anthony Evans from Mississippi State. Another one I really like, J-Mill, that we can talk about is Jordan Faison from Notre Dame.
Okay.
They had a great matchup against Boston College this week, so kind of like him. And then, of course, Kiefer Sibley. We know what he's done.
Yeah, and Sibley over there at North Texas is back. It looks like he missed a couple of weeks. Hawkins kind of emerged. Now they're splitting some time, but it looks like there's room for both of them. Looks like there's room for everybody to shine right now at North Texas, frankly.
Exactly.
So we'll see if they can keep that rolling. But he's another guy that's 1%, so he's worth at least taking a chance on if you're desperate, since you can probably get your hands on Sibley at 1%. Those guys are really valuable at this point when you might be stuck with nothing. So I think that's going to be it. Everybody check out G5 Hive. Luke, your buddy Jake, and his 75 points is the score to beat at this point to make it into the final two. Farnsworth had 89. But yeah, we believe, we're going to all crack 100 this week is the goal, right, Luke?
That's the goal. Honestly, let's hope for an all G5 Hive final. My co-host Justice will be in with you guys next week.
Right. Awesome. Yeah.
Pretty great year from the G5 Hive showing, picking up waivers.
Yep.
Hopefully that just tells you to, if you get a chance, come check us out Monday nights, going live 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Again, we've got the G5Hive.com. If you want to sign up, you can use G5 Hive VIP for 50% off for the first year. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right, we love having you, and great insight. Didn't know you guys had all that going on as far as the details of what you can dig into there at the website. So I'm looking forward to getting over there and checking it out. Willie, we're out of here, right?
Yep. Hopefully we can help you guys out. Thank you for watching and listening, and good luck this week.